Good morning. So until now we had two classes and we saw already two verses. It's quite a good progress. And no, actually we saw three verses. Anyway, we continue now. So in the first chapter there are some stories related to specific places in the land of Israel that were conquered by different tribes. And some of the stories repeat stories that we already saw in Sefer Yoshua. So, and there are some also contradictions about certain places. For example, the conquer of Jerusalem is described in the Tanakh in different places at least 4 times, 3 or 4 times. So what was the real story? When was Jerusalem taken? In this chapter, at least, it says twice, two different things about Jerusalem. It looks like something a little bit more complicated to understand what's happened in Jerusalem. But okay, let's continue for now. We saw that the first tribe to continue the war was Yehuda, who called Shimon, and they together went to the war. And the first war that we read is starts in verse 4. It says, when Yehuda advanced, Hashem delivered the Knaani and the Perizi into their hands, and they defeated 10,000 of them at Bezek. So the first war, it looks like a serious war. 10,000 people, army of 10,000 people, even today, it's quite a big battle. And it reminds a little bit the wars in Sefer Yoshua. The only difference is that it's only one tribe or two tribes here. And against two nations, Knaani and Perizi. So did they live together? Or maybe there are another question about that is, where is this place Bezek? Bezek, today we know Bezek is in the zone of Shechem in the north, which is a Nachala of Shevet Yosef. The different tribes of Yosef lives in its own. And this here, it says that Yehuda took Bezek. So it looks like a little bit of contradiction. So there are two ways to explain. That's first way is to say there are two Bezek, two places called Bezek. By the way, when I was in the army, the Golani Bridge, we had the basement in Bezek. It's called Machane Bezek. So I was there during a few months, receiving my first military education. What's called Tironut, the beginning of the training, basic training. Yeah, it was in Bezek. Anyway, what?
And where is that?
It's around. It's near Shechem, a little bit north. Okay. What I'm trying to say, it's not Yehuda. Why Yehuda went to Bezek? It's not Yehuda. It's much more north than the Nachala, the territory of Yehuda.
Yeah.
So we can say two answers for that. The simple one is there are two places named Bezek. So there are one in the south, one in the north. It's not very uncommon. For example, in this chapter, we're going to read about Tzfat. Tzfat, where is Tzfat? In the Galilee, north, no, but here it's in the desert, in the south. So there were two Tzfat, or maybe the Tzfat of the Tanakh is not the Tzfat of today, and there are also Bethlehem, two places, and there are many places that has the same name in different places. So it's not so complicated to say that. Another option is we can say the last big war in the inheritance of the land of Israel. When Am Israel took the land of Israel, there were the big wars in Sefer Yoshua against the Melachim, the kings of the south, kings of the north. But for some reason, they left behind Bezek, which was a central place in the mid-north, not far north, but it's like in the middle of the north. And then that's the reason they asked who's going to go first, because it was like a big mission, not a small mission. That's the reason they wanted to have a success in that. And that's who's going to go first, and that was the answer was Yehuda. And it's also explained why we have two different nations, Knaani and Perizi. Why? Because it was like a union of nations that came against Israel. It was like the wars in Sefer Yoshua, where few kings came together to fight against Am Israel. So it was like a covenant, union of nations, Knaani and Perizi. Both of them went to the war against Am Israel, and that's the reason Am Israel asked who is going to go for us, and Yehuda and Shimon went against the Knaani and Perizi in Bezek, and they took Bezek. And now, again, I think we talk about that in Sefer Yoshua, but you tell me if you remember something like that. So they found at Bezek, they encountered Adoni Bezek. Adoni, what is Adoni? When I say Adoni, sir, right? Or my master. And that's also the name of Hashem, Ado, etc. It also means my master, even though it's in plural. An interesting question why we call Hashem, the one God, in plural. So there be Adoni. Anyway, here it says Adoni Bezek, meaning like the master of Bezek, which would be the king of Bezek. So they found the king, engaged him in battle, and defeated the Knaani and the Perizi. Adoni Bezek fled, but they pursued him and captured him, and they cut off his thumbs and his big toes. Oy, we talked about that, I think, right? I don't remember what context was it, but yeah. So this is the king. And then he said, Adoni Bezek said, 70 kings with thumbs and big toes cut off, used to pick up scraps under my tables. As I have done, so God has required me. They brought him to Jerusalem and he died there. So here the question, why to cut thumbs of people? And again, I think we already explained that, but I repeat very fast. It's a little bit also relevant today in the world today. So first of all, we can see it was a usual practice. At least Adoni Bezek himself did that to 70 kings. Where did he find 70 kings? I mean, he was one city in Eretz Israel. So we explained already that the term king is not necessarily the king of the empire in the British Empire. We're talking about every town had its own king, like in Europe in the Middle Age, when every city is considered as a kingdom and has kings. So apparently there were different wars, many wars in the land of Israel, and Adoni Bezek was quite a strong king. So he won at least seven. Oh, the number 70 can be an exact number or can be like exaggeration. I mean, many kings, 70 kings, 70, 700, 7,000, right? It's like, can be like a symbolic number or a real number. Anyway, he said, I was a winner of many, many wars, and I did that to the king. So why to do that? Why to count the thumbs? And it says, Melaktim tachat shulchani, pick up scraps under my table. What's the purpose of that? The purpose, of course, is humiliate. Did you say humiliate the kings to show your greatness? You humiliate other kings, and how you do that? You put them. You don't give them food. You tie them under the table, and you cut the thumbs. You cut the fingers, so they start to lick scraps. Scraps from the floor. And again, it's the most humiliating thing that you can do for king that used to be in a palace, in a throne, and eat like good food. And so they did the same. So why he did that, we can understand. He was a bad person. Why Am Israel did it to him? So we can say one of the principles is midah keneged midah. Midah keneged midah mean what you did is going to happen to you in some way, or the punishment should be similar to the sin. So the way he behaved, that's the way Hashem, and like he recognized, Hashem made me suffer the same thing I did to the other people. But also, when we say that we humiliate other kings, it's not only cruelty. Many times it's as a purpose. And the purpose is to make other people, nations, kings that have similar ideas, to have fear from you. One of the best way to prevent war is fear. When you have this balance that you are afraid of the consequences, the ideas of taking other people territory, or I don't know, just invade and slaughter people, it's going to be harder to implement in the reality. When you don't have fear, it can encourage you to do bad things. And that was, for example, happened a few weeks ago in Israel. And that's the reason it's so important to mark the price for that. And here also the first war, as we said, to make other nations to have fear for Am Israel. Maybe we'll go to the extreme of cruelty once in order to avoid and prevent, to save other wars or other not having to do that again in other consequences, in other circumstances. I was confused between these two words. Yeah, circumstances. And so here we can say it's midah keneged midah, and we can also say Am Israel did that for the first, only for the first king, in order to see this fear in other places, in order not having to fight so much. It's not like after that everybody accepted Am Israel. It was still they have, but maybe it affected in some way. And it's again, it's a good thing that your enemy is going to be afraid of you. So why did they took them to Jerusalem? Why did they took him to Jerusalem? We can also understand that practically and symbolically. Practically, apparently it was the next war. After Bezek, they continued in Jerusalem. Like this next verse say, the Yehuda attacked Jerusalem and captured it. They put it to the sword and set the city on fire. So we are going to talk about Jerusalem, but you can say that he was taken to Jerusalem because that was a camp of the warriors to the next war. So they just took him there, and then he died there. And it can also be said that Jerusalem represents the justice. The king of Jerusalem used to be called Adoni Tzedek or Malki Tzedek. Tzedek is justice, the king of justice. Al ken yikare lach ir hatzedek. I don't remember. So the verse in Isaiah says that you're going to be called the city of justice. So maybe again, symbolically, the person who did that to so many people, he himself arrived to receive justice and died in the same way. So this is about that. Now continue to the next verse. Is a story about Bezek. We continue down Jerusalem. So it says that the sons of Yehuda, Bnei Yehuda, fought in Jerusalem and captured it, and they put it to the sword and set the city on fire. What is the problem with this verse? The problem is this verse that we already read in Sefer Yoshua, that Yerushalayim was taken by Yoshua. If you remember, the kings of the south, the war against the kings of the south was the enemy was led by the king of Jerusalem. The king of Jerusalem was the main king between the five kings. So we already read that Yoshua won this war. What's happened to Jerusalem? How comes that we have again a war here? We can say it's a very weak answer. We can say it's the same war. It's only described in two different ways. But I don't think it's the right answer. The right answer is that there he won the war. He took the king and the soldiers, but the city itself stayed, because around the city there was the walls, and they couldn't get inside the city. So in Sefer Yoshua, what we read was the army of Jerusalem went out of Jerusalem to fight against Yoshua, lost this battle, but Yerushalayim itself stayed. So, and this is a place where they say that they took the city itself and burned it. So this is in verse 8. But now, if we continue a little bit, I jump a little bit forward. After that, we read about Binyamin and verse 22, and it says, the sons of Binyamin, did not dispossess the Yevusi inhabitants of Jerusalem. So the Yevusi have dwelt with the Binyamin in Jerusalem to this day. We just read 14 verses ago that Yehuda burned the city of Jerusalem. And here we say that the Yevusi is set in Jerusalem until this day. What is until this day? It's not very clear, but we know that Jerusalem was taken in the days of David HaMelech. David started his kingdom in Hebron. He was in Hebron a king 7 years, and only after that he took Jerusalem, and then he moved to Jerusalem. It's a special story about that. Again, he said, who is going to take Jerusalem? And Yoav ben Zeruiah was the one who took Jerusalem. It was very hard to take it. So again, we see that Jerusalem was defeated in the days of Joshua. We already answered that. And then it says that the sons of Yehuda took Jerusalem. And then it says that the sons of Benjamin didn't take Jerusalem. And then it says that in the days of David HaMelech, he took Jerusalem. So what's happened in Jerusalem? One explanation of Rashi, says that Jerusalem was divided to different places. There were different neighborhoods. And the main city of Jerusalem was taken by Yehuda and was burnt. but there was a neighborhood called Yevusi, which has other nations called Yevusi, and it stays until the days of David HaMelech. Another possible explanation was that Yehuda took the city, burned it, but didn't live in it. And after a while, the sons of Yevusi returned to there, and then they take the city, and it stays like that until the days of David HaMelech. Anyway, what we can see from here, if we take it to a little bit more extended side, we can say that Yerushalayim, it's not one-time battle. It's not a one-time challenge. It's something that would require a lot of efforts and will take a lot of time in order to arrive and take Jerusalem. So you take it once, twice, three times, until only in the end, after many, many fights and struggling, it became our capital. It wasn't like in the first place. Okay, so this is about Jerusalem. And then it continues saying, we are in verse 10. After that, the sons of Yehuda went down to attack the Knaani, who inhabited the hill country, the Negev, and the Shfela. The Yehuda marched against the Knaani, who dwelt in Hebron, and they defeated Sheshai, Achiman, and Talmai. The name of Hebron was formerly Kriyat Arba. These Sheshai, Achiman, and Talmai were the giants. And we also learned about that in Sefer Yoshua. Right? So the giants were in Hebron, and it was taken by Yehuda. Here we have also the same problem. The same problem is that it says that Yehuda took Hebron, and in another place it says that Yoshua took Hebron. In another place it says that Caleb took Hebron. So again, who took Hebron? We can say again that it's the same story. Yehoshua was the king of Am Israel, or the leader of Am Israel. So you can say he took it, even though it wasn't his own battle. Yehuda was the tribe of Caleb. So Caleb, when you say that Caleb took Hebron, you can say it's Yehuda because he's part of the tribe of Yehuda. And you can say it's Yoshua because he's under the leadership of Yoshua. So it was, in the end, the one who did the battle himself was Caleb, from the tribe of Yehuda under the leadership of Hebron, of Yoshua. According to that, again, we are reading here stories that happened in the days of Yoshua, not after that. So it's like the timeline is mixed here. We are returning back to the days of Yoshua, and we're going to see the story we already saw in Sefer Yoshua. From there, what?
Was Yoshua then in the tribe of Yehuda also?
No, Yoshua was the tribe of Ephraim.
Oh.
But he was the leader of Am Israel. When you can say, for example, the Tzanchanim took Jerusalem in the 67 war. But you can say also that Rabin took it because he was head of the army. And you can also say that Rabin, who was the prime minister? I have confused already, but yeah, Dayan took it because he was a minister of security. So you can relate the same battle to different levels. Who took it? So Yoshua was the leader of Am Israel. Confused about who was prime minister in the 67. It's a bigger person. Yeah, maybe I think that is. Okay, anyway, it was Levi Eshkol, right? Levi Eshkol and Rabin was the Ramatkal, the head of the army, and Dayan was the minister of security, of defense. Okay, and then after Hebron, Caleb continued from there. They march, or the tribe of Yehuda, the tribe against the inhabitants of Dvir. The name of Dvir was formerly Kriyat Sefer. And Caleb announced, I will give my daughter Achsa in marriage to the man who attacked and captured Kriyat Sefer. So you remember this story also. We saw that also in Yoshua. And the question is why it's repeated here, why it repeats here. We're going to answer that in a second. And then he says his younger kinsman, meaning the son, the brother of Caleb, which is called Otniel the Kenizi, captured it. And Caleb gave him his daughter Achsa in marriage. So Otniel ben Knaz was the brother of Caleb ben Yefuneh. Knaz, Yefuneh, different fathers maybe, or that it's a different name of the same person. And Otniel ben Knaz is going to be the first shofet, the first judge in chapter 3. We are going to read about Otniel ben Knaz. And it says, it continues saying, when she came to him, she induced him to ask her father for some property. She dismounted from her donkey, and Caleb asked her, "What is the matter?" She replied, "Give me a present, for you have given me away as Negev land." Negev means a desert land. "Give me spring of water." And Caleb gave her upper and lower Gulot. So this is a very strange story. So he said, the one who's going to take the city of Kiryat Sefer, which is also his name, Dvir, I'm going to give him my daughter. So his brother, his own brother, took the city. He got married with his daughter, but his daughter was complaining that this place is a desert, and she asked for a blessing, and he gave him another place with water, with spring water, which is called Gulot Ilit and Gulot Tachtit, the upper and the lower Gulot. So what is the meaning of all of this story? And again, it's all the story appears as it is here, almost word by word, the same words in Sefer Yoshua. So the simple level to understanding is who is ready to dedicate, to make efforts to take the land of Israel. Even though it was a desert land, it became a very good land because of the water. So we can have like literal meaning of the story can be also understood something that is meaningful. And Chachamim in the Midrash related it to other things. They say that in the days of the morning of Moshe Rabbeinu, don't remember the number, a big amount of halachot were forgotten. Moshe was a big teacher, a big rabbi, and he passed away. And when he passed away, they forgot some of the halachot, of the laws, of the Torah that he taught them. And they didn't know what to do. And Otniel ben Knaz was the one who could recuperate, to remember, to reestablish this halachot by his wisdom. Meaning, Moshe Rabbeinu got the Torah from Hashem directly. He knew all the things because Hashem told him. And then he taught that to the next generation. But Moshe Rabbeinu cannot teach everything, and also what he teach can be forgotten. So we need our own tools in order to be able to interpret the Torah and to explain what we should do in the new cases. This is called Torah Shebe'al Peh. The Torah Shebe'al Peh has the power to take the Torah Shebichtav and develop it according to the same principles of the Torah, to develop it in order to be able to do the Torah, to apply the Torah in our world. So we can say that it's a change of generation, transformation of the Torah from being absolutely divine, meaning only the words of Hashem, to be a work of human efforts together with the divine wisdom. So this is Otniel ben Knaz. So according to that, Otniel ben Knaz was a big Talmid Chacham. So we take all this story, we delete all his literal meaning, and give it midrashic explanation. So where it comes from, so some of them Mepharshim say that's the reason it repeated twice. Repeated twice to tell you, give you a hint that we have another secret meaning to this story. So the first time is to say the literal story, and the second time is to reveal the secret story of the Midrash that's talking about the wisdom of the Torah, change of generation. That's the reason that Otniel ben Knaz was the first judge, like generation after Moshe Rabbeinu. Another explanation why it repeats twice, we can say it's repeat twice in two different contexts. Over there, it says in the context of dividing the land of Israel, we saw who got what part. And here it's order to, the purpose of this chapter that we are going to see after that is to show how there is a deterioration in the dedication to the conqueror, to the mitzvah of taking the land of Israel. We said deterioration. So we start with the good, and we go lower and lower until we see in the end it's going to be like a very bad situation. So here we are talking it in the context of who made the efforts to take the land of Israel, and in the head of the line, the tribe of Yehuda, and in the hand of the tribe of Yehuda, it's Caleb and the family. So we have here that story in the context of who is the one who dedicated the efforts to take the land of Israel, even though it was desert without water, in the end, it's rewarded by founding water and making it a good place. Here we have, so this is about the story of Othniel ben Knaz and Kriyat Sefer and Dvir. And then the next verse, it's a little bit strange verse. It's not very clear what is context here. It speaks about the descendants of the Keni. Who is the Keni? And it says the descendant of the Keni, the father-in-law of Moshe, went up with Yehuda, with the sons of Yehuda, from the city of palms. What is the city of palms? It's Yericho. So there were some people called Keni living in the Yericho. If you remember, Yericho was taken by Joshua, but it was cursed that nobody can live there. So who is these people who live in Keni? So they went up from Yericho. Again, if the city of palms is really Yericho, as usually we say, they went from Yehuda to the wilderness of Yehuda, and they went and settled among the people in the Negev of Arad. So who are these people? Who are the Keni? So the Keni, we can see in other places of the Torah, of the Tanakh, are the sons of Yitro. Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe, was also his family called the family of the Keni. So there's a question, Moshe Rabbeinu, after the story of Matan Torah, he tells Yitro, do you want to come with us? Come with us and Hashem will give you the good. And he say, no, I want to go back to my land. And then he insists, Moshe Rabbeinu insists, come with us and we need you to guide us. And the Torah doesn't mention what was the answer of Yitro. And there are different opinions. There are opinions that yes, agreed to continue with them. Another opinion says that no, that he went back to his land. And others says he went back to his land, but he sent his family. So his family continued with Am Yisrael as part of Am Yisrael, but not exactly mixed. They don't have, for example, they don't have part in the land of Israel. So where would they live? So in the first place, they was given the throne of Yericho. They lived in the throne of Yericho, more or less. We will see in chapter 5 that they were also in the north, in Ar Tavor, because Yael, the one who killed, you remember the story of Yael, that killed Sisra, the king of the Canaanim, that when he ran away, what? There was a
Well, the Canaanites.
yeah, Hever HaKeni, exactly, the same name. So we see that he was in the north. So where he was, Yericho, in the north, it's the son of Ar Tavor, or in the Negev, the desert. So apparently they were also like Bedouins, a little bit wandering around, once in one place, other time in other place. Chachamim also say that the god, the son of Yericho, not Yericho itself, that was cursed, that nobody lives there, but the son of Yericho was very good place to live, and they left it in order to go to Yehuda to learn Torah from Othniel ben Knaz. So it's connected to the former story. Othniel ben Knaz was the leader of Am Yisrael in this time. He was the biggest Talmid Chacham, rabbi of this time, and the people of Yitro, the family of Yitro, loved the Torah so much, they left the good place and went to learn Torah in the city of Othniel ben Knaz. And it's similar to what the father did. The father, Yitro, lived in Midian, and he had all he needed, and he left everything and went to the desert to Am Yisrael, to be with Am Yisrael. So that may be also the story, and that's how it's related to the former story. And then it's continue, and Yehuda, with his brother tribe Shimon, went on and defeated the Knaani who dwelt in Tzfat. Like I said before, this Tzfat, for sure, it's not our Tzfat of today in the north. It's in the north, in the south, in the desert. And Tzfat, so why is the same name? Tzfat, it's come from the word litzpot. Litzpot is to see from a high place. We said when we have a high place, when we add you to that, we have a high place, you can see all the thorn. It's called mitzpeh in Hebrew. So it may be a name of a high place in the mountain of the desert of the Negev. So like Shimon went with Yehuda, Yehuda went with Shimon, and both of them took this place and they proscribed it, and so the town was named Chorma. Chorma meaning proscribed. And Yehuda captured Gaza and its territory, like today, and Ashkelon and its territory, and the Kron and its territory. Here, it's a question. It's not very clear if it's the son of Yehuda. It's more belongs to maybe to Dan, but maybe, I mean, it's Dan is near there. And who lives in these places? Do you remember? Plishtim. Plishtim are the one who live in Plishtim, Palestine, say that it's the same name. They live in the zone of Ashkelon and Gaza and the Kron. So Yehuda took this territory, but again, apparently he didn't habitate it, didn't live there, because after that we see that the Plishtim lives there. As a resume of all this part, it says God was with Yehuda, so that they took possession of the hill country. But they were not able to dispossess the inhabitants of the plain, for they had iron chariots. So here it's very hard to understand. Hashem was with them, so they took the mountain. And then they couldn't take the valley, the plain, because they had iron chariots. So Hashem cannot defeat iron chariots. If Hashem was with them in the mountain, why couldn't he help them in the valley, in the plains? What does it mean? So we will see. So this is the first part of the chapter. We'll continue next week. But what we saw until now, that the mission of taking the land of Israel was very successful in the first tribe, and maybe the second if you take Shimon. From now on until the end of the chapter, apart from a little bit about the sons of Yosef, about all the rest of the tribe, you are going to read, they couldn't take that, and they couldn't take that, and they couldn't take that. It's getting worse and worse and worse. We will see how this process continues. So we can see that the only one here who is described in a positive way is Yehuda. Yehuda is the only one who is really doing what he wants, and that's the reason we read the story about Caleb and about Othniel. They really loved the land of Israel. They were ready to make efforts, and they took almost all the part of his nachala, his inheritance, in his territory in the land of Israel. But Hashem didn't help him to take one place. Why? When you read in the Torah about the promise of Hashem to Bnei Israel to take the land of Israel, it says clearly, I will not give you to take the land of Israel in one time. It's going to be a gradual process. Why? And it gives two reasons. The first reason, if you will defeat and kill all the people of the land of Israel, the land would be left abandoned, and then it's going to be much harder to take it later. We need people in a place in order to maintain it. So it's going to be a gradual process, because I don't want all the land to be a desert, to be without people. So this is one reason. So this can explain here. Hashem helped him to take most of his land, and he didn't help him, he didn't want him to take the plain in order to leave some people there until they have enough people and enough possibility to take the rest of the land of Israel. The second reason that mentioned in the Torah that Hashem left people of the other nation in the land of Israel is to test Am Israel, to see if they are loyal to Am Israel, to Hashem, if Am Israel is loyal to Hashem. It's like a test. You are going to live near them. Are you going to be able to still maintain and keep the Torah, observe the Torah? So anyway, we can see that the reason that Yehuda didn't take this part was because Hashem didn't let him. It wasn't because he didn't want. It wasn't because when we say, I should have taken this city and I didn't take this city, we can explain three different levels of reasons. The first reason is, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't. It was too hard. The war was too hard. It was too dangerous. We couldn't take it in this time. This is the justified reason not to take this place. The other level, a little bit lower level, or not a little bit, much lower level, is to say, I was too lazy to do that. I prefer to stay in my house, to work in my fields, to develop my industry, and I didn't want to go to another war. So it's my fault in a certain level. The worst level is when I don't want to take it because I have interest. For example, I would prefer them there because I like their culture, or I would prefer them there because I want them to pay me taxes, or stuff like that. So this is the lowest level, when you are going against the will of Hashem because of your own interests. So when we read about the tribe of Yehuda, like I said before, described in a positive way, the reason he didn't take all his land, all his territory was because Hashem helped him until this point. He helped him in the mountain, he didn't help him in the plain. And that's the reason it stayed like that. From now on, we are going to see that it's become worse. Okay, so I think we stop here.
I've got a question for you.
Yes.
If they went to Jericho to fight against the Kenite, but if the Kenite were descended from Yitro.
No, so I didn't say they fought against them. I said after they took Jericho from the Canaanim, like the sons of Yitro didn't have part in the land of Israel because only the tribes got he wasn't one of the tribes, so he didn't go the part. So they told him, you know what, your family are going to live in this zone, not in Jericho itself that was already destroyed, was taken from the Canaanim, not from the sons of Yitro. So he lived there. The sons of Yitro started their living in the land of Israel. They started that in this place, in Jericho, around Jericho, not Jericho itself. And after that, they went to the desert, to Otniel ben Knaz, to learn Torah from him. The same as Yitro left Midian to learn Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu, his sons left Jericho, went to the desert to learn Torah from Otniel ben Knaz. As we say, was the one who continued the study of Torah after the death of Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, thank you.